We are back on the path, and it is lit with the glow from your phone or computer screen here for this podcast, the Right Path to Retirement podcast with Jimmy Lynn, the president, founder, financial advisor at Right Path Wealth Management. All the THs, right? Yeah, get in on what's going on there and go to rightpathwm.com, rightpathwm.com, or dial Jimmy in the Las Vegas area, 702-805-7000. Get that complimentary consultation. And you can also, if you call and learn about any educational seminars, live events that may be going on. I'm your co-host, Doug Turnbull, joined here, and we're recording on April 17th. So you may be hearing this 2 weeks or a month later or even months later. But what that means, we're recording this, Jimmy Lynn, 2 days after the tax deadline. And although we know that tax strategizing or tax planning season is year-round, there is that tax prep factor that people really sweat about up until mid-April. So I'm sure you've been busy.
Yeah. Hey, Doug. How's it going? Yeah, I'm actually really happy to be with you right now because I'm finally above water.
Yes.
I don't think we talk about this much, but yeah, I mean, we have a sister company per se, Right Path Tax Pros, where we do tax preparation, for people around the community, a lot of focused around retirees and their situations, because we can help them not only with the tax strategies that we create. Me being an enrolled agent, we like to try to map out some tax scenarios with regards to people entering into retirement. We've talked a lot about RMDs, Roth conversions in the past, but at the end of the day, there's got to be a tax preparation person, a CPA, an enrolled agent that actually implements that plan, and it kind of shows the tax savings. That's what we found. In our office, we like to do the tax prep because now we're responsible for those plans that we're implementing. And so we just finished a bunch of tax returns the past month. And so, right now I'm just trying to relax and breathe and try to reset myself.
Yeah, I bet it is. In fact, if I'm getting the timeline correct here, we were scheduled to record on the tax deadline day. We pushed it ahead a couple of days just because,
Yeah, that would not have worked. So I appreciate you being flexible.
No, for sure. If I know one date, it's April the 15th, all right? And thankfully, I did mine a couple of weeks before, and it didn't matter. I still took a big bath. I had a lot of 1099 work in 2024, and it continues into this year on the side. So nonetheless,
tax preppers loved seeing that, all those 1099s. We love it.
You love seeing all the 1099s?
I'm being sarcastic.
Oh, okay.
we don't love entering all those.
I was my own tax prep, me and the tax software I paid for. Okay. So, that's something that you just had to bite and eat over there. But yeah, it's got a lot easier, but it used to be, especially when you could itemize every single thing and there wasn't the standard deduction. It used to be, wow, there's a lot of stuff you had to consider. So, remember rightpathwm.com. And of course, you could go there if you have tax questions too, and set up an appointment with Jimmy and the Right Path Wealth Management team. Now, past episodes here, the last two, we talked about long-term care, especially that really tragic story with Gene Hackman and his wife, them both passing away. And the most recent show, we talked about retirement budgeting. All right, you got to have a plan. Now, say you've made that retirement budget. This is going to seeg right into today, Jimmy. And then the prices go, well, okay, we know they go up over time, but now they go up. All right. Well, we're talking about the tariffs. Granted, the tariff stuff is nowhere near in stone. That story changes per country, per day, it seems like. But Jimmy, should retirees be getting bug-eyed when they see the word tariffs and thinking their whole plan is going to go up in smoke?
The short answer is no, Doug. But, human nature, obviously, when we have this 24-hour-a-day news cycle and we see changes as they come and different news broadcasts are reporting different things, human nature is that it's going to put us in panic mode. And it's funny because, during the seminars that we do, we also kind of like to do an update on what's going on in current events. And at the beginning of the year, it was like, the threat of tariffs, because we all knew that was part of the campaign. And a couple months later, we are knee deep in it, and nobody knows exactly what direction it's going to go. But it's obviously, as everyone knows, it's created a lot of uncertainty and volatility in the markets. So if we kind of just step back, obviously, everyone probably is pretty familiar with what the tariffs are doing now because we've heard about it so much. But it's those taxes on those imports, right? So when things are coming in from other countries, the importers have to pay a tax on that. And that's what we're trying to negotiate right now. That's what President Trump is trying to get reduced. We're trying to make it fair in his words.
Sure.
But the starting point is creating those penalties because that's going to incentivize these other countries to come to the negotiating table. And so that's the great hope. But in the short term, which pretty much everyone has agreed, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, even the Trump administration has said, there's going to be some short-term pain. The short-term pain, ultimately the goal is that we renegotiate these deals and then we get some long-term success and growth, right?
Right,
So
of course.
That's the hope. But when we're getting that taxation on the imports, pretty much everything is going to be going up in cost. And that's where inflation comes into play. And my main concern, Doug, is that, whenever prices go up, the people start getting used to that. And these manufacturers, they don't really like to bring those prices back down because they realize what they can charge, right? So it's just another reason why inflation, no matter what it comes from, whether it's a global pandemic or if it's a tariff, inflation is just a natural part of the life cycle. And so that's the longer explanation of the tariffs and how people can be concerned. But to go back to your original question, should retirees be concerned? The reason why I say the short answer is no is because what I tell all people, and this is really the moments where like financial advisors, financial planners, this is where we shine, right? These are the moments that people look to us for advice and recommendations. And I tell everybody that if you're concerned about these tariffs and the volatility in the market and seeing the S&P 500 go from an all-time high to basically giving back all the returns from last year, if any of that concerns you, then you're probably in the wrong plan.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, funny enough, in our practice, with all this volatility going on, with our clients in the market and us creating financial plans, you would think that our phones would be ringing off the hooks. We've barely gotten any phone calls regarding the market. And the reason why is because they were in the right plan, because we've prepared for this scenario in which there could be market volatility and you don't want to tie your retirement success to the market, right? You don't want to tie your success to preventing global pandemics, preventing tariffs. We don't want a war in the Middle East or in Asia to impact our retirement. And so if you're in the right plan where your retirement is not tied to market performance in the short term, then you can insulate this from all this volatility. So that's why I tell people all the time, the reason why we bring up these issues in our seminars is because I want to illustrate to the people that are planning for retirement that you hear all this stuff in the news and a lot of people are concerned. But if any of the news affects your retirement in a negative way, then you need your plan reviewed. And that's what we do all the time with our clients, right? We got people coming in, they're like, I've attended your seminar because I'm seeing all this stuff on the news. I see my retirement accounts going down in value, prices are going up, and they're just lost at this point because they've done well their entire life saving. They're ready to retire, and now everything's changed. And we don't know what direction is going to go to. So that's why we always encourage people, Doug, and I know we always say it on these podcasts, but if anyone out there, they're in that situation where they're concerned about what's going on with the tariffs, with the market, and they don't know if their plan is going to work out, they really need to get a second opinion to identify, what holes they might have in their plan. So we encourage people that if they want to do that, they can reach out to us at our office, 702-805-7000, or visit our website at rightpathwm.com and just reach out to us and get on my calendar. I love to help people in the community talk about this.
Well, for sure. And I think you said something that's really key here. Your phones are not jumping off the hook with current participants of Right Path Wealth Management freaking out because their plan may not be working. It's probably the people that have the most angst are the ones that, maybe are right at retirement's door, all right, where it's just about to start converting or drawing off of that 401k plan. So it is market facing, or if somebody that's very market heavy. And there are products that can still have growth that don't necessarily have to face the market or at least tumble as much as the market does, right?
Right, absolutely. If you have a plan, the way we kind of create insulated bucket of money is really to be able to create now money, soon money, and then long-term money. And if you kind of create these different lanes for how you have your money preserved and how you have your money set up to grow and how to create income streams. When you have these different buckets, then your long-term money that you're going to be using maybe 10, 15 years from now, I wouldn't be overly concerned with what the market is doing, because over time, this country has been able to overcome things like the dot-com bubble, the housing crisis, COVID. We will overcome this, in my estimation, just in my professional opinion, but it's something that could take years to get out of. So you want your long-term money can be perfectly tied to the market, and that it doesn't concern me much. But if you have money that you want to use this year or 3 years from now, you want to have a strategy where that is not impacted. And so we have a ton of different solutions that we offer to our clients that are not tied to market risk. You cannot lose any money as far as the value. Oftentimes there's no fees associated with it. So depending on your situation, we can put you into something that can really, like I said, our phones are not ringing off the hooks, because our clients and a lot of prospects we talk to, we recommend, we put them in solutions where their soon and now money are insulated from everything that's going on. And that's why our phones aren't going off the hook. And then we educate our clients, right? We educate the prospect. We tell them, if you want to be in the market, which who doesn't? Because just like the bad stuff in the news, the tariffs are in our face. We also have seen for the last 5 years, the market's just going up every single year. Your 401k is going up. So people want to be in the market because that's what they see in the news of all the wealth being created in this country. Yeah. So they want to participate that, but they have to be educated in that, right? They have to know that if you're going to take that risk, because you want that reward, there's no free lunch. I mean, that's kind of my cheesy saying that I like to tell all my clients, right? There's no free lunch. If you want that reward, you got to take on a little bit of risk. So you got to make sure you're educated enough to know that anything you put in that long-term bucket, you're going to see some volatility, but it's okay because you have a plan. You have a plan for what you're going to be doing for the next few years and where that money is coming from. And so that long-term money, you have a plan for that, because we believe, historically speaking, it should go up in value.
Yeah, a good plan is not, well, I sure hope the market turns around in the next year, because I'm really going to need that gain to be able to meet my retirement budget, or whichever budget you have. So look, people that know how to climb mountains still take a Sherpa up Everest, okay? You may know money, you may even know your plan, but you may not know every single in and out of the system that you need to know to get the most efficiency out of it. And that's why you get Jimmy Lynn and the team there to help ask the questions, put things in straight lines, run the software, and come up with choice A, B, C, or D, and then you pick the one that you think best suits you. And I'm sure there's more than A, B, C, and D. That just started, okay, with the alphabet. So his phones aren't ringing off the hook with his current clientele concerned, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't make the phone ring off the hook to try to schedule that complimentary consultation. If that speaks to you, if you need a second opinion, 702-805-7000, 702-805-7000, or you can fill out the contact form on rightpathwm.com. And with that, Jimmy, I think you really set a good tone here, because our next episode, we're actually going to talk about a written income plan and why you have to have a plan to stick to. When you get emotional about the stock market or emotional about tariffs or politics, it's easy to divert. It's a lot harder to divert if you have a written plan that you're really sticking to as your North Star.
Yeah, perfect, Doug. I'm excited to talk about our next one.
Yeah, for sure. Well, he is Jimmy Lynn, the president, founder, and financial advisor of Right Path Wealth Management here. Thanks so much to Jimmy for making the time here on his coming down from all of the tax prep work he's been having to do over the last little bit. Thanks as well to our producer, Daniel Sallerson, for getting this published and put out to show. For Daniel and Jimmy, I'm Doug, and thank you for listening to the Right Path to Retirement podcast. We'll have another episode coming your way here soon.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Right Path Wealth Management. Right Path Wealth Management is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Right Path Wealth Management are not subject to investment advisory requirements. Investing involves risk, including potential loss of principal. Any reference to the protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing carrier. This radio podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It's not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decision, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Right Path Wealth Management is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Right Path Wealth Management. Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA.